For a long time, many people have asked, what's better, third party or first party? Well, I'm here to settle that debate. No. For the three people who have no idea what I'm talking about, first party video games are the games that are made by people who made the console or game device. Mario Party, Mario Kart, Mario Odyssey, WarioWare are all games that would be considered first party for a Nintendo console. And if you don't know what a Nintendo is, get out. Now, a third-party game would be your indie games. Games made by smaller companies or small teams, like Bendy and the Ink Machine, Doki Doki Literature Club, Subnautica, and Five Nights at Freddy's. Jesus Christ, there's a lot of indie horror games. A third-party game can also be made by a large company. It doesn't work with Nintendo if we're still talking about the Nintendo example. A lot, and I mean a lot of these games are cheaper than the normal prices of Nintendo games. I could walk into GameStop, say, I want Mario Party, and they charge $60, versus me going into GameStop saying, I want the Resident Evil Triple Pack, and getting charged $40 for 3 games. I just did some math, and it turns out that I can get a party game for about $60, which I'll probably end up playing alone because I have no friends, or, optionally, I can get 3 horror games for the price of $60, that's about $14 per video game, and I can play it by myself and have fun. Or I could play WarioWare like a normal person with this PowerA controller. Damn it! Yeah, so not only are there third-party video games, but there's also third-party controllers. Now, most controllers that are third-party are traditionally cheaper. So if you actually did have friends, unlike me, and you needed those controllers, it's a really good option. But those controllers can have several problems. Now, there are companies that make really great third-party controllers. I think of the best examples off the top of my head, like PowerA. For the longest time, a lot of my controllers were in fact made by Party A. Back when the Xbox 360 was important, all of the controllers I had were in fact made by PowerA, including the console itself. But sometimes, I don't get very lucky with third party. The most notable example is when I think of the Nintendo Wii. With the introduction of the Wii Pro controller, there was a lot of oh, and what the fuck? Now, this goes without saying that most, consoles and handhelds, everything, have their own, off-brand controllers from many different markets. But the Wii is the most major and, prioritized example, due to the fact that everyone was buying Wiis. Everyone wanted a Wii. The Wii was the biggest, and probably still is, one of the highest selling consoles of all time. But because there were so many sales and so many different types of controllers, it started to get to a point of less of, how do we make this controller more practical, to, holy shit guys, let's put buttons everywhere, even the fucking handles. Now I admit, some controllers were helpful. The rubber grips allowed you to hold onto the controller even when your hands might get sweaty, allowing for longer playtime. But some just didn't do it right. Everything G. I hate being able to use the triggers on my controller. Well, guess what? Your prayers are answered with the Nyko Wing Wii controller. It's god-awful. Okay, let's break down this controller. It had a very PlayStation design. Much like other Wii Pro controllers at the time, lowercase letters on the buttons, okay. Instead of triggers, we have the tiniest buttons next to the left and right buttons. That's interesting. This shows the difference between third and first party controllers perfectly, but it still begs the question, which is better, third or first party? Well, in terms of controllers, it honestly depends on who you are as a person, what you're trying to look for. You have a party game coming up? Perfect. Get a bunch of cheap, easily affordable Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons or something like that. But if you're playing on your own and you want the absolute best experience for yourself, spend the extra money on yourself and buy a controller for yourself. There is, of course, downsides to if you were to get a third-party controller, such as the limited NFC for, say, Nintendo Switch controller, or, different differences within the buttons and how they work. However, that purely depends on who you are as a person. Now, with that said, I'm gonna go back to playing WarioWare with my Powerade controller.